Hey, welcome to Subscribe to our Travelers. Today we're working on my 68 Cadillac hearse. We're talking big block Chevy, maybe a Crown Vic front end. Stick around and find out. I'm going to pass it over to myself using the magic of the voiceover and bring you up to speed on where we're at on this car. Alright, finally getting started on the hearse project. It's a big deal. Get the hood off. Me and my dad start ripping the motor out of this thing. It is a perfectly good running 472. Now, why would I go to a big block Chevy from a 472, you might ask yourself? Well, I'm a Chevy man. I like Chevys. I think big block Chevy is the greatest motor ever made, and you can fight me about it in the comments. I don't care. There's the most aftermarket for it. There's the cheapest prices for parts. Well, it used to be the cheapest prices for parts, but that's here nor there. Yeah, that is why I'm going with a big block Chevy. I can build a lot easier power with a big block Chevy than I can with a big block Cadillac. There's plenty of parts available for a big block Cadillac, don't get me wrong. But a cam is way more for a big block Cadillac than it is for a big block Chevy. And that's all we're planning on doing, is just throwing a cam and an old RV motor. Doesn't have a lot of miles on it, and was a good running RV when it went to the junkyard. Now, as you see here, me and my dad are working hard to get this motor out. It's kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt. Now, this is my dad's first time doing a YouTube video with me, so we jump around a little bit on this project, and I apologize for that in the future. It's going to be more deeper in this video, but he's getting used to it, and without him, this project would not have happened, and we wouldn't be getting it done, well, sort of done, in the time frame we had. See here, I got my hot seat out. It's really important to use a hot power washer to get all the grease off of it when you're trying to do a project like this, and yeah. Now, up next, we're going to see if we can fit this big block Chevy into this frame with the steering the way it is and with the steering box in the back where it is. Alright, let's see if this thing's going to fit. We took the tail shaft off the other trans and put it on this. This is just an empty case for mock-up. And whoa, you're still lowering it down. Stop. Hitting on this side. Got to jack it up underneath. Well, it's definitely on the steering. Right there is about where it's got to be.
I know, it's almost back to where it needs to be.
Alright, just leave it right there. That's pretty much it, as far as we can get it. To set it down all the way where it's got to be, you have to cut this cross member out. First thing I can see.
That's going to be in the way of your fuel pump.
Yeah, it's going to be big time in the way. And the steering's in the way. The pivot arm isn't going to hit the oil pan, but that leaves absolutely no room for exhaust. It'd have to be like a manifold and go down there. So unfortunately, I lost the footage that goes with this. We figured out at this point, the engine, we could make it sit down in there. We have to do a lot of modification to a lot of different things to make it sit down in there, like, right. And I'm a big fan of log tube headers. I think they sound best. I think they sound the best. I think they work the best. And there was no way that was happening with this setup. So we went back and forth for a little bit and pretty much decided a Crown Vic front end is the way to go. Lots of advantages to a Crown Vic front end. Disc brakes. Dual caliper disc brakes. Light. They bolt in, which is pretty cool. The issue being, they're about 4 inches wider track width than a hearse, than a Cadillac of this era. Now, that's the wheelbase on each side would be 2 inches out. We figured that it isn't going to be too big of a deal. We can put spacers on the back to make a match. We'll use the Crown Vic rims. The Crown Vic rims have more of an inset than the Cadillac rims. So, that's the plan we go with. We start ripping suspension out and kick this project off for real. This is crazy. I haven't said this yet. This is like a month or a little bit over a month before this car has to be at Hearse Fest here in town. I bought it from the owner. I told the owner it was going to be there. Darn right, it was going to be there, hopefully running and driving. Also, we didn't know if it was going to work at all. We were just going to try it. Other cool thing, we got shirts for the hearse. This is a preview of what it's going to look like in the future. I know it's a little bit of a spoiler, but we got your heather gray, military green, antique orange. I make these shirts here in-house. This is a high quality direct-to-garment. This is an ink direct-to-garment. This ain't that vinyl crap that peels off instantly. This is going to be there for the life of the shirt. It might start cracking, but that's pretty much how any screen printing stuff works. Same ink as screen printing, it's just printed in a printer. And I put these on myself, so every single shirt you buy from us, I've touched. Now it also comes in hoodies with this design, orange, green, and gray. Awesome, there's Bart. We get some bats. You know, it's Halloween time. This is our Halloween shirt. This is our Hearse shirt, first one. We got some skulls peeking out there. That's a little preview of what's going to happen in the far future. Some Crown Vic rims. Yeah, my artist drew this, knocked this out of the park. This is one of the coolest shirts we got, and we try to keep them priced reasonably. Website down below. Order shirts, order hoodies. They're in pre-order right now. And I'm going to try to get them all done by the end of this week so they can go out. So get your Hearse shirt now. Get them before Halloween. Get on this quick so I can get them to you. And I can put some more money in this hearse because it's killing me. This is only the first video. Just wait. Back to past prime. Grind it off some more. Hit it in.
Yeah, hammer it in.
That one had some tension on it. Alright, now here we're using a laser level across both fenders to mark center on the frame and then transfer that to the fenders. Because this car, everything in the front end is completely crooked. So you can't just measure from one point to the middle of the fender and mark it. Or one point to the middle of anything and really mark it. But we know where the center of the axle was and it's marked on the frame. So if we line that mark up with and then make a mark on the fenders, we will know exactly where center is when we put this new piece in. This took a lot of work and a lot of figuring out because the fenders swooped down, so we had to basically shim this bar that the magnet's on up till it was perfectly 90 degrees to the ground, and then line the marks up on both sides and then mark the fenders, and that tells us exactly where the new piece or where the Crown Vic frame has to be when it goes in. Now that you've seen the suspensions all out of it and we're to this point, we've marked center. We've done a bunch of measuring, which I got written down on a piece of paper over there. So when we put the Crown Vic suspension in the front of this thing, we can line it right back up to where it needs to be. Now I realize this is all going to be gone, so these marks really don't matter too much, other than we've measured off those marks in multiple different directions, so we know exactly where it's going to be. Now also, we've leveled the frame, front, back. We got jack stands all the way up in the front. Now you might be asking yourself, why didn't I just pull the front end off to do this? Well, if I leave the front end on, I'm hoping that it helps hold everything in the front here where it needs to be. Yeah, that's crooked. Everything's crooked in the front of this car for some reason. No idea why. So we're going to straighten make sure the frame's straight before we worry about straightening anything else. That's the most important part. As you can see, the jacks are into the bumper. Those are the mounts that go to the frame right here. And then there's mounts that go up the side of those from the bumper. So the bumper really is holding that piece in. And then the body's connected to that piece. So hopefully everything stays where it should be. Honestly, out of everything I want to do to this car, I want to start chopping on this frame, like right now. Right now. But first we have to do something else, which is where we're going to start here next. This is going to be our new frame piece. It's a 3x6. I want to say square tubing, but it's obviously not square. If it's 3x6, that's a rectangle. Whatever. We got to line our pin and drill a hole for our pins. This is the center of this front end. This, if you ran a straight line from that one to this one to the center of this, this is center. So this is the most important one. We got to cut this piece in half here on the center, and then drill these holes. I have a template, which I'll insert here. It's going to tell us where everything needs to be. Hopefully we can figure this out. Once we get those pieces cut, drilled, bolted in, we're going to slide the front end underneath the hearse. That way we know where to cut on the hearse. Jack it up in there. We're going to tack it really freaking good, and then set the car down to kind of check ride height. This might be a thing where we put it together, set it down, set a motor in it, and then it's too low. We want to lower it a little bit when we're doing this, but we can't go too low. This is going to be a hard thing to do because you can't just measure this. You can't just, what's the stock ride height here? When the caliper is all the way up, it's all going to be different because, you know, only front end, big black Chevy, not a Cadillac, anything left in the front of this car except for the frame and the front sheet steel. So I'm going to start cutting this piece in half. Take my time. I'm going to do a lot of measuring. Not the usual smash bang, throw some dirty stuff together. Actually going to clean a space so I would place the work in here in the shade instead of being out there. It's a mess. Front suspension, big black Chevy front suspension. This is all got to go somewhere else for now. And we'll get to cutting. There we go. I think the hard part's going to be making sure that's straight. That fits really good.
Is that right? Or should it be closer?
No, I think that's fine. Because this it'll be clamped in here.
What's that?
This is going to be clamped in here.
Oh, that's right. It's bolted on.
So it's not like this can flex. We're going to have to make little spacers.
Yep.
Just a little tiny bit.
No big.
So there you go. Really what we're doing is just drilling holes. We got blueprints over there to give us an idea of where the next holes are going to be. You can just make a template, take a piece of paper, lay it on there, mark your holes, and that way you can transfer it to the top. Because you got to match the holes to the top because the drill bit's not long enough to go all the way through. As he's on to drill the next holes. So, with these all done, get this all bolted together. As you heard us just talking about, this has got to be flat on here. See, it's flat on here now and the hole doesn't line up. So we're going to have to make spacers. Go in here to keep it flat. That'll just be a flat sheet of steel. Some holes knocked in it. No big deal. And bolt it together. Slide it under here. Cut the frame. Jack it up in there. Okay, we're measuring side to side to make sure it's going to be square before we start marking holes. Is this backwards?
What?
This side?
This bar? No, you want this cut edge. This way. You want
Well, this one has two cut edges.
I know, but those are the two edges that are straight. The ones that you bobby cut.
That.
Because this factory edge over here isn't straight.
Yeah.
It's a little bit off. And that's the part we got to cut off, right? These two edges matched up perfect when I put them end to end.
Alright, it just looked, I think it might be an optical illusion.
Probably is.
It just looked like that one was farther back. So let me show you how I figured out square. I took this across both motor mounts, and that should give us square, and then we use tape measure measured front and back, and everything is equal. Everything is square. Now we marked our holes. The hardest part is the bottom of these are circle, the top are oblong, and both sides of this is oblong. So we're gonna have to figure out where everything's gonna go, and both these holes are in different spots. The front one is farther out that way, and the back one is farther this way. So we'll probably have to flip this over, mark center to the middle hole, and then that should tell us where the other ones are gonna be. So what I was doing a minute ago was wrong. We're not squaring off of these because that made everything square. Well, in the Crown Vics, the front gets wider than the back. So what we did was we actually measured here, or from these in, and lined it up on both sides to where it looks right with these back mounting points. So it's wider in the back than is the front. I mean, reverse that. It's wider in the front than is the back, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Really, it's just about lining up the bolt holes, and as long as that center mark is lined up with the center mark in the car, and these are straight up and down, and it's equal on both sides. If these frame rails are a little tiny bit off, we can cheat it with the frame. So we're just gonna drill some holes and put it together and hope it works. There we go. Holes are done. We had to make some spacers because you want this to sit flat on here. Now we're just going to bolt it all together and then start cutting. So this line, for sure we're cutting. And then we're going to start with this one. This is like the minimum amount forward we're going to go. And then slide this out and bring in the new front end. Cadillac purists might want to look away from the screen. What would it do? Kill that Sawzall blade?
Or a chop blade. One of the two. You need a grinder.
Careful. Could explode on this one.
Yeah, but I got a big opening, so.
See what happened to the front frame?
What?
It rolled forward.
Oh, this part?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, we can jack that back up.
Yeah.
This is because we know this is level. all the way through. Jack it back up again. Keep going.
What's it hooked on?
Try it on this side.
Yeah, it was reinforced in there. This rolled on the jack stands. I was kind of afraid of that happening, but we know that this was level to there, so we'll get it back right. Here, steer.
You're steering. Come on over this way. Now hit the cross member. Move the jack and you go inside. That might work.
No.
Just move the jack and go on the side.
Yeah, it's
Either
tough.
that or we just take the bumper down. And still that cross members in the way.
That cross member's in there. We gotta go from the side. Well, I know it's not going to line up exactly in there. It's got to go in a little more, Dad, towards TJ. Push yours forward a little, TJ. Huh? Push your end forward a little, towards me. Okay, hang on. It's got to go towards TJ more.
That's as far as it's going, the front end the way it is.
Yeah. Alright, first time trying to go in, and we're hitting way too much up here. We had these marked where we were talking about cutting it. So, I'm going to definitely have to cut this off, and then probably notch the bottom of it. Kind of go from there. On both sides. Oh, alright, let it back down and take a little break and come back in a little bit. I don't know if this is right or not, but these rotate pretty much any which way you want it to go. So we're just going to turn them to the angle we want and push it up so we got all the room in the world. It'll make it a lot easier to cut into this because from the factory they're like this. And that's the opposite way we need everything. So we're just going to give that a shot. Alright, I got updates. Frame is sitting up in there. We're just trying to figure out the back where we're going to put those mounts. It's kind of looking like we're going to have to make our own plates and weld them on top of those plates to make it right. We got a little overzealous with our cutting. So yeah, we're just trying to figure out where to put these guys and to make it work. I'm thinking if we just cut these off here, make a square, 4 bolt holes, and a square right here. I got some really thick steel right there. Probably work pretty good. Bring it back in when we figure it out. There's going to be some tubing we're going to put inside the frame. There's going to be plenty of strength when we're done, but that's how this goes. You just gotta wait till it fits and then belled back till it's stronger than it was from the factory. Well, there it is. It's centered in the car. That marks center. You can see it blinking. It was to our marks from before. So we know it's exactly where it should be. Now we just make sure left and right is good. And I think it's ready to weld. Okay, we've done a ton of measuring. We actually put wheels on just to make sure the wheels are the same equal length from the stock frame to where the wheels sit. And they are, and they actually fit. I should have showed you that, but we'll leave it for later. Remember, this subframe, the track width, disc brake face, the disc brake face, I almost said another word right there, is 4 inches wider than the stock one, basically. So I was really worried the wheels were going to get into the fenders or something crazy was going to happen. It clears perfectly fine. I realize that it's not at ride height, but I think we're going to be pretty doggone good. It looks like, even though we measured everything, everything's a little forward of the wheelbase. We measured the wheelbase, it's like a 1/4 inch forward, give or take. I mean, it's pretty hard to measure a wheelbase on this car because of the way it is. But that's good enough for us. We're just going to weld it up. And if we got to change anything, that sucks. Honestly, if we had to move this subframe back, we don't have to move the frame part. We can just slide it back if we absolutely had to. But that's going to mess with everything down in these cups. I'm rambling. I'm just going to weld up what we can. We got like an inch weld over here, a couple inches over here, and then we got to do some frame tweaking to bring it to where we can weld up more. This has easy but hard, if that makes any sense. The way the control arms are in the bottom of this makes it hard because of how the GM frame is, because it goes up and then forward. So where it goes up is where that piece has got to be. We're gonna have to do a lot of boxing and figuring out. I might do some stuff on the top. I don't know. We'll get there. Alright, I gotta take car where it's gotta go and I'll be back and I'm doing a lot more welding. Alright, I welded up a bunch of the seams. It's not too bad. I couldn't see on this side. I got a light now. When I was welding, my welding helmet must have got bumped. It was on the completely wrong setting. This side's way better. But I welded up all these seams. I welded up down there and back up in there. That's gonna make right here a lot stronger. And it's welded here, and it's also welded. If I can get you out there. Down the outside. All I did, the frame kind of flared out right there. I took a chunk out, beat it in. It's over top. It's overlapped this. So it's welded. That's going to be really strong. Now, all this is going to get plated on the outside all the way around. But I'm thinking for here, I have some really, really thick 1 inch. It's like 1/4 inch thick. I'm going to take a piece from all the way back here and run it up to here. However the angle is going to be, that's going to make all this way stronger. We're going to box it. We're actually going to put some tubes inside here, kind of like across, when we figure out this for sure, which is going to be like this. Yeah, that took a big chunk out of the frame. If I were to do this again, I know exactly what I would do. I'd make these longer so they came back to here. Past these, I'd bolt these to this with a little spacer, and then I'd run a 2x2 straight down right here and right here. Put that back out. But yeah, just run a 2x2 straight down, this wall to that, and then plate and plate. The hardest part will be this outside frame rail where it comes in. We would have had to bring this over into this. Not too bad. I would definitely do it like that next time. This time we're kind of in it too far to be going backwards that much, because it's pretty much almost welded in. These fronts, I'm going to leave open right here because there's a bumper bolt back there. So I need to be able to get in there with a wrench and get that. Which is still going to be a pain in the ass, but it's better than if we box it all in. So I think I'm going to cut the outside of this and then bring it down flat. Kind of clean this edge up so you don't cut your hand. Weld it straight across. Same thing here. But I think right now we're going to work on this. I really want to put this car on the ground so we can make sure, it's going to sound crazy, we have the right ride height. We're doing something that's never been done before that I'm aware of. And yeah, I want to see what the ride height is before we go plating everything too much. Because what we can do, if it is too low, first off, we can pull these out and put them down here and space it down. Or more than likely, we could actually, or well, more than likely would happen, we cut this here, cut this down like an inch, and then back up, and move this whole thing lower. Like weld this on the bottom, plate the top back in with some C-channel. It'd be just as strong as it is now, if not even a little bit stronger. And move the whole thing down an inch, which would change all this, which is why we're not finishing up. Because if I have to move this down an inch, I'm going to add some steel back into here, which is going to happen anyways. I think this will get plated like this over top, and the same thing on the other side. These will be kind of hidden up in here. You'll be able to get the bolts from the bottom, or at least get this bolt out, slide this out, and then get to these is probably how it's going to be. Because, you know, you just unbolt that, unbolt this, and it should all just come right out. We've done similar things. We've built some rat rods, but mostly that was all straight axle. And then my race car was a lot of steel and a lot of figuring out. We're getting it. It's going to be strong. I guarantee you it will be strong. Hopefully it'll look good. That's what I'm worried about mostly. I want it to kind of look good. And I want that big block to still fit in here. We're getting there. We're getting there. I know it's a long episode, but it's crazy. We're getting there. Alright, update. I added a really thick piece of steel right on top of that. It is 1/4 inch, no joke. That's a thick boy. I gotta weld the other side still. There's a bracket in the way, so I can't get to the back side of it. Turned out pretty good. I can't do this side yet because where the steering box used to be, there is nothing to weld to. So we're gonna have to build that up first before we do that. But right now, I'm gonna set it on the ground. I think we're gonna be fine. Because it'd probably come down 2-3 more inches with that. I bet the fender sits right about here with the big block in it. Lots more to finish. That's going to do it for this episode. Come back for the next part. This has already been an epic episode. I didn't want to make it too long, so we're going to do 2 parts. And yeah. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Check out this video here of us racing, and I'll see you next time.